Well, I'm presuming that would you describe yourself as a bit of a dry drunk
Definitely,
leading
you,
up
you
here?
hit it right on
Okay,
the nose there.
right.
Yeah, I just all along I knew something was wrong. I had a friend who was part of this program, and I would bump into him at meetings.
In this program in Guiding Light? Okay.
Yes, but I just would scratch my head when I would talk to him because he seemed really satisfied with his life, and yet he was living in a sober living apartment and still wasn't driving. And I just thought, how is this guy so happy and he doesn't have the trappings of what the world, what I thought the promises should be. And he told me that when he first came to Guiding Light, he basically felt like a failure. He didn't see any hope in his life, and I certainly could relate to that, even though I was presenting a much more polished uh, picture to people. But at the core was shame. It's the belief, the lack of faith in myself. The crisis was that I had become so depressed and had become so isolated that for the first time, although I've struggled with depression through most of my life, for the first time I was having some suicidal ideation. And I went through a period in January of about 18 days where I stayed in bed in a dark room. I didn't watch TV. I didn't respond to texts. I didn't return phone calls. I couldn't even tell you what the weather was like outside. And I lived in the basement of someone's home, and I was supposed to be remodeling their bathroom upstairs. And they made a phone call to the police. The phone call was just, can you please come and do a welfare check on this guy that lives downstairs. And so the knock at the door bothered me. I said, who is it? And it said, well, it's the police. We're just checking to see if you're okay. And I said, I'm fine. And she said, well, we want to see that you're okay. You need to show us that you're okay, so would you be kind enough to open the door? They told me that they thought it'd be a good idea if I went into a crisis residential home, since I had been thinking about ways to kill myself. So then I think from that point on, the depression got even worse, and I just started thinking, where's my life heading? One of two places: I'm going to go back to drinking, or I'm just going to exit the world. And that's why I came to Guiding Light. The strictness of the rules here was very good for me. I also had to sort out my disconnect with God. And the fact that there's spiritual guidance really helped a lot. If I had a list of resentments and people that I resented, God would be on that list. At least he was at that time. Certainly I would be at the top of the list. I resented, and it was just a great deal of self-loathing. I see that that my spirituality can grow in more than one dimension, both my religious beliefs, and also there's a sense of spirituality that I can pursue that really doesn't have that much to do with what church you attend or how you define God or scripture and that sort of thing. I'm constructing a set of core beliefs and practices that endorse me. That's the way I describe it. And that's where I am now. Now that I've been able to do that and also deal with some childhood trauma issues, which Guiding Light has helped me to deal with, because that's another thing we have here is great therapy, both group therapy and individual therapy. Life coaches, exercise, the list goes on and on. If I got a chance to talk to a donor, I probably would have to think, how can I make my presentation concise to this person, because I could just go on for hours about everything this program has done for me. I would say that it's a very worthwhile thing for you to give of your resources to Guiding Light, because Guiding Light looks at the whole man. I can imagine that a donor might say, you should be churning out these shiny recovered guys in 30 days or so, but really one reason that Guiding Light ought to be supported is because it's a program that gives people not only time to learn what they need to change, but time to practice it in this environment. I honestly, although I feel giant changes have happened in my life, I would be a bit afraid to just go right back out into the world without any connection to Guiding Light anymore right now. And that's what Guiding Light is. That's how Guiding Light is different, in my opinion, than other recovery programs. Is it invests in a more long-term recovery. If I looked at my character flaws before, it would produce shame in me, and that shame would get me stuck. And now I can look at my character flaws and see small steps I can take to begin to deal with them. And being able to, as I've been taught here, to look at myself objectively and kind of pay attention to the way I behave. Small changes.